Welcome, ladies. I am super excited about our interview today. A lot of you know our dear Heidi. I had a request from a couple of you wanting me to interview her, and so you can discover her talent and her beautiful spirit. And it's greatly blessed and enriched my life, and I know it will yours as well. So Heidi and I have been friends since we moved into the area back in, what was it, like 03 or something? Somewhere around there, 04. Anyway, and she is a dear, dear friend, and she's actually worked on me with what she does and helped me through some really trying moments in my life. I've been so eternally grateful, and I almost feel a kindred spirit to Heidi. I feel like we are really sisters. I really do. And so we have I feel a very precious relationship, and I just love Heidi dearly. I'm going to let her kind of give a little base, a foundation of what she does, and then we'll go into the questions. So Heidi, tell us a little bit about you.
All right. Thank you, Trina. You know that feeling's mutual between you and I. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So what I do is I am a certified SimplyHealed practitioner. And this is just a really awesome way to positively move your energy to help people get to their highest potential, is what I like to call it. It's a way to clear all the old negative feelings and thoughts and experiences that stop our energy from functioning at its optimal level. And we replace it with all sorts of wonderful things so that you just have a wonderful outlook on life and you feel great and you get your energy in a place of healing, in a place of wholeness, and it's really a great place to be. So we do that through simple muscle testing. And it's not done necessarily on the individual. I can do it on myself or anybody. So it makes it very simple because our sessions will last like an hour and your arm would get really tired after an hour. So it's nice to do it that way. And it's just a wonderful way to kind of self-discover some things. One thing I love about this work is we don't have to rehash the past. We don't have to relive it and go through some of the awful experiences, but it's very simple in the way that it clears. But it works on a very powerful level, on the cellular level, which is pretty amazing that we can clear things on a cellular level. So
I love that. I love that. I mean, there's been times, ladies, I've actually called Heidi. I'm driving down the road in the middle of traffic, and I've had some moment of what you would call letting in a negative emotion come in. And I was like feeling out of control in that moment. I called out, Heidi, help me, please help me. And she was totally okay, let's release this. And it's been, to those that have not had a foundation or a background to energy type healing, I was just discussing with Heidi before I've got my little dinger going on here. I got to figure out how to turn that off on my computer. I was discussing with Heidi how these books, I've got this one that's Remembering Wholeness by Carol Tuttle, and Louise Hay, which is how you can heal your life. And then a lot of you have already heard of Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die. These are a really good foundation. So if you've never been educated or even know anything about energy healing, that's like a good foundation to go to. And what I really love about what Heidi does is she takes those, and with her work and how she does it, creates a simpler level of healing. Is that a good way to explain it, Heidi?
Yes.
So it's taking that foundation of what you've learned there, and then she applies it in a simpler way, which I really, really love. And I love how you say, we don't have to, on some of the things, we don't have to go in and just rehash it over and over and again. There's a way to release those emotions that went with the moment in a very simple, peaceful way.
That's right.
I love that. So first of all, can you explain what positive energy is, what the positive energy movement is? Can you explain what that is?
Yes, I can. Positive energy movement I would define as the way that we ideally want our energy working and running, because it feels the best. And there's all sorts of systems in our body and I like to call it our spirit, but even just our energy. A lot of people call it spirit, a lot of people call it energy. To me, it's kind of the same thing. My beliefs are that it's the same thing, but there's energy that runs in, around, and through our bodies in all sorts of different systems. And so we have ways to identify where that energy could possibly be stuck, where negative emotions have stopped up energy, and so it's a negative flow. It's not even flowing sometimes. Sometimes it's totally stuck. Sometimes it's misaligned. Sometimes it's blocked, and we find out what is blocking that, where that's coming from, and then we can release it into a positive energy flow, into positive energy movement, because there is energy everywhere. We want our energy running through and in and around and flowing through our bodies at its optimal level, on course where it's intended to go.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Well, and I wonder, there's probably some people some ladies that may never even have thought or been taught that we are energy, our bodies are energy. Do you want to explain a little bit? You had mentioned to me about the computer, but the women, it kind of relates to the emotional side. Do you want to explain a little bit about how our bodies actually does have energy running through it?
Yeah.
Explain that.
One thing that helps me recognize it is you've probably all heard of acupuncture. And so just as your blood flows through your veins, your energy flows through your body on meridian lines. And when you have acupuncture done, the acupuncturist is sticking the needles into a meridian line to try to unblock it, to allow the energy to flow through it. Mm-hmm. And as that's just one of the many energy systems that we have in our bodies and in our energy or spirit that's around us. That's the flow of energy. And for men, sometimes it helps them to think of it, because men kind of aren't always as in tune with this kind of work as women. Women kind of naturally are drawn to it because we're such feeling creatures. Mm-hmm. But for a man, you could explain, well, it's like a computer, and your body is like a computer, and I'm not very technical, but how you input things and how you get it on the hard drive. And sometimes we have to go in and reboot it. We have to change it. We have to make it so that it functions differently and replace the software and all that stuff. And so for men, it's kind of helpful to think of it as that their energy is like a computer, and how it is input and how it's delivered and all that stuff. Whereas for women, we can understand more the fluidity of the energy that runs through us. And some men get it. Some men totally get it. I'm not saying, it's just the brains are a little bit different the way they view that energy flow.
For sure. Okay, I love that. So we are energy. Energy is going through us all the time. We have things that take place in our life that may cause blockage to where that energy is not flowing the way it should flow. And when that happens, what does it cause?
It can cause all sorts of things. And in fact, my belief, and as well as Louise Hay and Carol Truman, who have written some of these books, and Carol Tuttle, is that every physical manifestation has an emotional root. Mm-hmm. And I know that's hard to wrap your mind around if you've never heard it, but I really believe it's true that every physical issue we ever have, including anxiety, depression, accidents, even if we're always bumping our hip in the corner of the dresser, there's something going on with our energy that is pushing us towards that. And it's kind of messed up, and we want to clear that because we don't deserve to hurt ourselves all the time, but there's just things that happen, that make our physical bodies do what they do. And sometimes it's illness, sometimes it's cancer, sometimes it's, mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say I can cure cancer, but I am going to say that there are emotions that begin, and anger and resentment are the two major ones of cancer. And so,
yeah, go ahead.
I just was going to say, so what I believe and what I have found to be truth is that there is an emotional cause to every physical issue in our lives.
Yeah, I believe it 100 bazillion% because I've experienced it, and just knowing what I've dealt with, I know that the physical ailments that I deal with are coming from emotional stuff. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And it's interesting because when my dad got cancer and he refused to, because he was very homeopathic, so he refused to even get educated on what kind of cancer it was or anything like that until, a year and a half later, maybe 2 years later, when it came back with a vengeance. Then he decided I better just at least get educated on what kind of cancer it is. And it's interesting because the doctor told him the kind of cancer he had, liposarcoma, and it was the worst you can get of the worst. And he said, you were born with this gene, but it took a trauma in your life to activate it.
Interesting, the doctor would say that.
The doctor told us that. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like, did he just say Eastern medicine might be real? And so, yeah, I found that really powerful. And it let me believe or helped me with my belief already that I had already begun my journey on believing how important our emotional health is.
It is. And let me just interject one thought here, and that is that the emotions work so intricately with the thoughts. And then you have one more element that kind of carries us, and that is our generationals, the DNA, the things that we were passed on down through the generations that we have no control over, other than we can clear them. But it was just like somebody just gave it to us, just like they gave us our brown eyes or our blonde hair or whatever. And so there's those elements working together, but the thoughts and the emotions together are very powerful, and they at creating either goodness in our bodies and our lives, or not such goodness in our bodies and lives.
And so with that, you would probably be an avid believer of the power of our thoughts and affirmations and talking to ourselves positively, how much that changes our energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did want to say one thing on thoughts, though, because I've had a lot of people say this to me, and I've experienced this myself, is we all have random thoughts. And sometimes they're really strange. And we're like, what am I thinking? And we can almost feel guilty about it sometimes, but we need to allow ourselves and understand that we're not always in absolute 100% control of our thoughts. Yeah. But just to recognize that when we're having random thoughts, we can just recognize that and then shift our focus again onto what our intention really is to think. But I think sometimes we put so much power into the thoughts that we get kind of hung up on these random thoughts that are just part of mortality, I think, part of living here. And so, yes, we can do so much with our thoughts. And the greatest manifestation will be made when our thoughts and our feelings align, when our mind and our heart are aligned. That is when we see manifestations or even miraculous changes in our lives, for the good or the bad. Yeah. Whether your thoughts and your mind and your heart are thinking and feeling great things or fearful things. Mm-hmm. Either way, it's going to manifest.
Yeah. I love that. I love that, we need to be kind to ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be perfect. That's comparing us to that perfect version, right? And I don't know about you, but there's times that I'm having a thought, and then finally I come in almost conscious, like, why am I thinking this? Like I've been sitting here like this whole daydream going on, like, wait a minute, why am I figuring this right now? And I love that you just say, we just need to be kind to ourselves and not be like, I must be a terrible person. I can't control all my thoughts. I can't, or whatever. That instead it's like, this is part of being human, right? And okay, I'm going to change that and not get hung up on it.
Right. Yeah. And recognize that it's your intention. That's the greatest part of it.
Yeah.
Those random thoughts are not your intention. So just let them go and just say, oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. How funny is that?
I love it. I love it. Okay. So now I would like you to kind of talk about this emotional healing, energy healing. is becoming more discussed, more talked about. And like you discussed with me before we started recording, the difference between Eastern versus Western medicine, and now how the Western culture is starting to embrace the Eastern, which is the acupuncture, the naturalists, the herbs, you know, the energy healing. Why do you think it's switching? Why do you think people are opening their minds up to this other realm of thinking?
Well, that is an open-ended question. Sure. There could be so many possibilities. One thing that comes to mind is, if any of you are familiar with Deepak Chopra, he has kind of opened the door. He was an Indian in America practicing medicine and realizing that no one is getting well. Everyone, I'm making a drug addict or they're dying. Mm-hmm. And that's when he went back to his roots of Eastern medicine, and he's integrated all of that. And I think that the world is opening up. We are tired of being sick and tired. Mm-hmm. And we want something else. And we're realizing that what our Western medicine provides, which is drugs and surgery, isn't making us whole or well. I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for that, because I'm grateful for the advances and I think it's truly inspired. Mm-hmm. But I also believe there's great wisdom in the thought and the action of Eastern medicine, which is the body as a whole unit of a spirit and a body and a mind working together. Mm-hmm. And I think that the world is finally waking up that we've got to make some changes. We do. Yeah. And my feeling is, why not take everything that's so good and bring it in? And that's kind of what SimplyHealed does, is we just bring all the goodness together. And it's so simple to integrate it as we work through a session together with individuals.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. It's so great. How have you found that the latest science is proving the effectiveness of energy healing?
Well, it's kind of cool because I don't think of this work as scientific because it's so intuitive. Every session is a different experience because we go where people's energy wants to go and what their priority is and in their healing, with each individual. Mm-hmm. But yet there are so many things that they're starting to do research on that's proving the validity of this work. I'll give you 2 examples. One is a book I read. It's called Message in the Water. It's by a Japanese doctor. Mm-hmm. And he did an experiment with water and words. And he put the words love in front of one vial of water. And then he put the word hate. And then he would put the word kind. And then he would put the word forgive. And then he would put the word anger. And he put water with these words in a freezer and then opened it. And the crystals were so telling. Now, this is crazy, but this is scientific evidence. The crystals behind the word love were absolutely beautiful, perfect, balanced, like crystals. They had dimension that was perfect and just pleasing and beautiful to look at, Like you would picture a beautiful snowflake under a microscope, just beautiful. And then the crystals that form behind the negative words like hate, anger, were just every which way, and there was no rhyme or reason. There was no pattern. There was no anything to them. There was nothing could make sense. And it was just a distorted, ugly crystal, mm-hmm. The shapes that they took on. So, there is evidence that just our words alone form and create the cells that we embody. Mm-hmm. And then there's also, I just looked it up, there's research on the DNA research that we do, which is we do a lot of clearing ancestral and generational issues that people are, like I mentioned before, are passed down. And it's now being called Biogenic Decoding. And they're actually doing a lot of research on biogenetic decoding, which is helping them understand how we can clear the generational and the ancestral issues that were just given. Yeah. For no cause of our own, but just because of our ancestors. Yeah. So
I know when I've worked with you, you found stuff ancestrally in me that blew my mind and answered so many fantastic questions It really did. It was just like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Holy cow, it makes so much sense. And it's made it to where, it concerned my mom. And it's made it to where I've been able to have more compassion and a greater love towards her, where before the not understanding, I was bitter and frustrated. And, it was really freeing for me, even though it was like information that was like, wow. It was really freeing for me. It really was a big deal. And so I think it's important that these ladies recognize that, like you said, that we take on that physical DNA, the brown eyes, the blue eyes, brown hair, but we also can take on that emotional DNA.
Right.
And what they had to live through, clear past, you went way back with me, so.
It can go far. And here, let me mention a couple things that I love about this work is that when we do clear an ancestral or a generational, it's like a gift we give to that person where that negative experience or emotion began. And if they want to accept it, they can accept it. And then it can also clear all that would like to accept that through the generations and even through the future posterity. So the clearing is amazing. And what happens if you can think of it like a riverbed? And for generations, water that's negative has just been running through this riverbed, through and just building deeper and deeper and deeper. Let's say it's the negative emotion of shame. Let's say someone was shamed. Okay, and then it's just passed down from generation to generation and just carved this deep riverbed. And the beautiful thing is with the integration, it can be completely gone. And that can be, you have like a clean slate, a fresh start. You don't have to carry that. You don't have to allow that river to run through yourself anymore. You can have this perfect cell again on every part of your body, on every cell, on every layer and level, the emotional level, the spiritual level, the physical level, on every level can be cleared and released of that.
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
So, what a beautiful concept and a beautiful blessing to give ourselves, plus anyone else it's affecting.
Yeah, and it's always, if they choose, it's always their choice. But I believe a lot of this work is accepted for sure. So
I believe you're right. I've heard of vibration in energy healing. What does vibration mean? What are we talking about when we talk about vibration?
Okay, well, that's a great question. I love it. Let's just think about this. We know for a fact that everything in our world vibrates. Even a rock, as non-vibratorial as you think it would be, it has a vibration. They can actually calibrate the vibration of a rock. It's extremely low, but it vibrates. And I think that just proves everything has energy or spirit, however you want to call it, vibrating through it. It's movement, whether it's subtle, slow, or fast, and very easy to identify. And so we all experience vibration, and they can calibrate words as low and high vibration. The very lowest of all vibrations is shame. Shame is the lowest vibrating word. The very highest is forgiveness. Forgiveness vibrates even higher than love and joy. And everything has a vibration. It resonates, okay? And it's just this fluid movement. And we have to think of our world as this fluid movement, and we're a part of it. And I believe that it's the spirit, the same thing as the energy that just makes us vibrate and move. And so it's that energy that's moving in, around, and through us and through our world that's vibrating. And when you're vibrating high, when your energy systems are really in a great place, you've got a lot of blocks removed, you just feel so alive. You feel like, I have this high energy, I could do anything, and you feel on top of the world. And you've probably all experienced that before, when you're in just this really good, your body, your mind, your spirit, everything just feels like it's, in harmony, and you feel great. And you're vibrating really high, but sometimes when you're vibrating really low, you feel really sad, depressed. you can't shake a ugly feeling. You know, your vibration just goes way down. So our goal is to help people vibrate at their optimal level and be able to handle life and all that comes with life in a very healthy way, because the energy is vibrating in a very high way.
Yeah.
High level.
When a client comes to you, how do you test for where their vibration is?